Hello and welcome to Vergecast, the flagship podcast of Drake. But not really Drake, or maybe it's Drake. Or maybe it's just a crypto scam. That's the Vergecast. I'm your friend Nilay. Alex Cranz is here.
Like, it has to be Drake. If it sounds like Drake, it's Drake, right?
What a can of worms Alex is open. I feel it's like a 1950s game show.
We had a great time.
Yeah. David Pierce is here.
Hi. I'm the other Drake. That's what a lot of my friends call me.
Yeah. Whenever I look at you, David, I think, boy, what an excellent substitute for Drake.
Really loved you in Degrassi.
Our friend Charlie Harding from Switched on Pop is here. Hey, Charlie.
Hello. I am going to clone my voice as Drake today.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very excited. All I want to talk about is AI Drake. As poor Alex and David know, I have not shut up about AI Drake all week.
Yeah. Like, immediately. I think Monday, you were just like, it's Drake. We're talking about Drake.
We're just the whole Vergecast. We have comments on my story about Google and copyright law, and one of the comments is, boy, this is going to be a long Vergecast.
You're right.
So we got to talk about AI Drake and what's going on. There's just layers upon layers. Charlie is here to help us make some fake Drake tunes.
Yes.
Very good. And talk about how the technology works, which I think will be really interesting. There's other stuff going on. It's the blue check apocalypse on Twitter. Snapchat is doing chatbots. David wants to talk about DVDs for some reason.
Good
and
reasons.
Netflix.
I support David. I support you, David.
Listen, I have like 5 months left to rent DVDs. I have so many DVDs to rent.
I'm just surprised that it's DVDs and not Blu-rays. I figured Alex would be like, kill the DVDs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of okay with that, but I think they're killing all discs, right? It's not just the DVD.
Yeah.
I like to think of DVD as an umbrella term. It's really
It's like Kleenex.
it's like a spiritual DVD.
Shinies.
Yeah.
Laser discs. And there's a little bit of sad news to talk about today, which is BuzzFeed News is shutting down. And I don't want to dwell on it, but we've been talking a lot about the end of this era of the internet, and I think we should talk about that a little bit at the end as a preview for the entire episode about Activity Pub that David has put on my calendar already.
Can't wait.
Okay, let's start with fake Drake. I can't. It's like I'm too excited to start this conversation.
Do you want to tell us all about how this happened, Nilay? Because you were on this from the beginning, fake Drake.
Yeah. I'm curious for Charlie's take. Charlie hosts an actual music podcast. So over the weekend, there's a track posted on TikTok by an artist named Ghostwriter977, who is a person in a white sheet and glasses. The track is called Heart on My Sleeve, and the voices are Drake and The Weeknd. And it's like a pretty good track.
Is it like pitched that way? Like it's very obvious that way to see it. But I was trying to remember when this first came out, was this like, this is a Drake and The Weeknd track?
It's hashtag Drake and The Weeknd.
Okay, so it was deliberately that way.
So the title does not say it's them, but it also says hashtag AI. And importantly, this will be very important later. At the beginning of it, there's a producer called Metro Boomin, who's now also an artist. He's got a famous producer tag by Future. If Young Metro don't trust you, I'm going to shoot you. That's the tag. And that is at the beginning of the song. So the implication here is that Metro Boomin has produced a track with Drake and The Weeknd, two artists that have not appeared together for 5-ish years. And they've this is a real thing. But it's obviously AI.
Yeah.
So it like blows up in an uncanny way over the weekend. Like the TikTok account is brand new. No one's ever heard of this person. It instantly has millions of streams. Charlie, like there are lots of AI tracks out there. This one just blew up in a weird way.
Do people just love Drake that much?
I think, frankly, it is a serviceable song.
Yeah.
So it passes actually sounds like it was made by a human. And when we think about what part of it was made by AI, I think it's probably actually just one very small piece, which is the creation of their voices.
Yeah.
Very likely the beat is made by a human. Very likely the lyrics, if made by ChatGPT, feel edited by a human. You know how AIs, the large language models, have this problem of hallucinating the longer they go into something?
Right.
They're not great at doing music composition yet because they don't get the right balance of repetition and novelty. It kind of just like the beats get weird.
Yeah.
They don't.
Do they just get more chaotic as time goes on? Like a 60-second song is great, but 6 minutes is like a total disaster.
Exactly. They stop referencing themselves. It works great for like ambient music, which doesn't need to ever have any reference to an earlier part. It just keeps on blending and moving, and that's why there's a lot of background AI music and like content music that music is fine. But this is a real beat. So it sounds like someone got a beat. I don't know if they made it or if they just ripped it off of YouTube. There's a lot of beats available.
Yeah, and then they wrote some lyrics, and the implication throughout is they sang or performed the song, and then they ran it through an AI to have Drake recreate that performance.
That would be my assumption. There are some tools out there right now that are open source, easy to use, where you can pretty easily just grab a piece of text, run it through a thing, and it will spit out a Drake-like voice. Now, the open source ones that I have access to, they kind of sound like you're talking through like a bad Zoom phone call. It's a little artifacty and weird. But there's some coming out in like the next literally couple of weeks that are in pre-release. I'm sure people have access to betas that sound uncanny, where you can even live redo your voice and sound akin to the president, Drake, kind of whoever you want, as long as there's some training data in there. So my hunch is that this person probably has some access to one of the better tools that I don't have access to yet that makes the voice sound really good.
Yeah. What surprised me is that it's not a new thing that has occurred. Like, there is a very charming version of AI Kanye West performing "Hey There, Delilah" that I'm just obsessed with. It's just like, it's adorable.
Yeah.
And I think Kanye should take a note and be like, here's what I'm doing. But like, there's a lot of this stuff. There's burgeoning artistic communities using these tools. It's just fishy that this one appeared and blew up.
I think it has a lot to do with timing.
Yeah.
And of a bunch of things, right? So much has happened. There's so many AI stories happening right now. The whole world has woken up and paying attention to large language models, and people are experimenting in ChatGPT and all of the various tools. And so I think they're just grabbing this perfect moment of the zeitgeist to do something in music, which hasn't been done yet. Like, we've been obsessed with DALL-E 2 for a minute. That fad is probably fading. We've been really obsessed with writing college essays from ChatGPT. There hasn't been there's been some fun ones in the past, but it wasn't in the same news cycle that we've been in right now. So I think it's just kind of riding this AI news cycle perfectly. And it's also at a moment when the music labels are expressing a lot of anxiety to the distributors and trying to figure out what they're going to do about their future copyright, not just of the issues of making sure that Drake owns Drake's voice, but also the issue that AI music writ large could just come in such large volumes in the future that even if you are making original music, it might not even get noticed, because we're already at hundreds of thousands of tracks per day being uploaded. Imagine when we're getting to tens of millions.
This is what I'm saying about it. We're already in that environment, in this brand new TikTok account that no one's ever heard of before, posted this thing that is maybe 5% better than the other AI songs that have existed before.
Yeah.
And it blew. And I'm just telling you, the crypto scam vibes in my heart are off the charts, right? Like, there's just something, like, a lot of crypto people who became AI people started tweeting about it. There's a link to download the full track to a company called Lalo that wants your phone number.
No, don't do that.
That's crypto adjacent in some weird way. You see what I'm saying?
It's Kanye.
It's Kanye. So my first thought was like, this is Drake himself. This is a real Drake track. And they're doing some stunt with it, and he'll pull off the sheet and reveal himself to be Drake.
Controlling.
In character for Drake. And then the weekend part of it doesn't sound quite so realistic.
No.
And then UMG freaked out, which we can get to, so maybe that's not real. And then it's like, maybe it's Kanye West who hates Drake, and this would be like actually very in character for Kanye. It seems weird too. There's just something fishy about it. I talked to somebody well placed to know, and they were like, look, it's bizarre, and things that are this bizarre aren't accidents on the internet anymore.
Yeah.
But no one quite knows what's going on.
I think there's a marketing agency behind it.
Something's going on.
I don't know, man. There's definitely an Occam's razor version of this that says, like, TikTok is incredibly well placed to make things popular that would not otherwise have a platform on which to be popular. If you can do a passably good impression of Drake, you're going to be very popular on the internet. It's just like a thing that is true. And this has that, like, we talked a lot about the swaggy Pope on the show. Like, this has a lot of that same vibe where it's just good enough that you initially don't catch it, and you like think it's an all right song, and then you catch it and you're like, oh my God, this is, it like blows your mind in several stages, which is like a perfect recipe for something like this to blow up way beyond what it would ordinarily do.
Right. I'm just saying all the earned media that it got is legit. Like we're talking about it because it's impressive. It's worth talking about. But the first wave of that media was this is blowing up on TikTok. And I think that turn of it in particular is you can just pay TikTok money to promote things.
True. And there were also a bunch of people like tweeting and stuff who were like, oh, this is really blowing up. And it had like 25,000 views.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know that this is blowing up yet.
Fishy.
Yeah.
And so we'll come to the fishy part and the takedowns and all that stuff. Because I think that's the next turn of the story. And I'm obsessed with what Google will do. But I just want to stay focused on the tool itself here. So Charlie, you have made this stuff. I was talking to you about it earlier this week. And you're like, I just made one of these in 2 minutes. And you sent it to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, you had taken the text of me talking about Ticketmaster and you made Drake rap it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, just come on the show and do that. So walk us through how you actually go about doing this.
Okay, so literally just before coming and sitting down with you all, I was like, oh, I got to make one of these really fast. So here's how I went about it. The first thing I did is I went to, first you need a beat, right? You can make some AI beats. I don't think they're that great. I don't like them. So you can make a very easy beat by using open or very affordable sample libraries. So I was sort of like, okay, let's go find like a hi-hat loop.
Okay.
So I found some like little loops.
Oh my God. You're doing
found some
We're
808s.
doing like a full Charlie Puth impression on our show right now.
What if there was a light switch that went? I'll never do that. I should say I am an amateur beat maker.
Yeah.
And I am not a rapper. But I could grab some samples. So I grabbed some samples. I dropped them into Ableton, my music software, and I did this. This was like 2 minutes. Beat. Just existing samples that are out there.
Okay.
Drake type beat.
Yeah.
Drake would for sure rap on top of that.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
No, that beat is like slightly too interesting for modern Drake. Like if you played that in a Banana Republic, they'd be like, this is too hardcore, and that's the current Drake threshold.
Banana Republic.
Like he makes khaki pants music right now. Let's be clear. All right, continue.
Okay, so then I have the issue, as I said, not rapper, but I need some lyrics. And I figured what I could do is I could just go to theverge.com. And the first thing that I saw, let's see, it's no longer on the front page right now. But what was on the front page was, it's a laser bong.
Yes. Beautiful.
And I
so happy.
I literally felt like, here are the lyrics to our song.
I'm so happy.
So here's what it
The laser bong is the gift that keeps giving, girl.
It really does. What a beautiful 420.
So I record myself just
right.
stating the first couple lines of your article on The Verge. It's a laser bong. It's a bong. There are lasers. I could not be clear about what it is. It's got some flow.
Yeah.
Weed and lasers just
Well
seem to go
done.
together.
Drake.
Like weed and blacklight velour paintings or weed and peanut butter.
Good. That's good.
Seem to go together. Peanut butter, little slant
Yeah.
rime. I
Yeah.
was like, all right, those are our lyrics.
Yeah.
So I record myself. I go and find this website, Uberduck. Uberduck.ai.
Sure.
Not affiliated. No idea.
Yeah.
They have trained a bunch of rapper AI data sets
Ooh.
that are, as I said, they're okay. They're not
Yeah.
amazing. So I upload my voice saying that thing,
Okay.
and then I type in the text. It needs to match them. And I hit synthesize, and outputs this with my beat.
I'm so excited.
It's the most
This is
exciting thing
best.
that's ever happened.
Yes.
It's a laser bomb. It's a bomb.
Oh
There are lasers. I could not be clearer about what this is. It's a laser bomb. Weed and lasers just seem to go together like weed and black light velvet paintings or weed and peanut butter bomb.
Oh my God.
So it's a laser bong by The Verge.
Yes.
That's going out on Spotify
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Who has a CD Baby account? Andrew Marino, do you have a CD Baby account? Yep, that's a thumbs up. It's going out tonight.
But really, this was like, it took me a few minutes to put this together. And like, if we didn't like the Drake, who else do we like? Let's grab Eminem. Let's see what he gives us.
Oh my God.
So
Yes.
let's do Eminem Freestyle as the model. I'll hit synthesize. Takes a minute because this is like
the real
janky
time is
tool.
like an important piece here.
And I get a nice picture of Eminem.
I feel like this isn't enough lyrics to give Eminem. That's really what I'm worried about. He's going to do this very fast.
This is just free on the.
Yeah. This is free. They have a paid version.
Uberduck.ai.
Yeah.
All right, this night's getting shut down. Like Eminem's lawyers are listening to this right now.
But
if you're
it's
listening to this, pull the car over and synthesize as much rap music as you can.
Do it now.
Because it's not going to last for very long.
And David Guetta got in trouble for using a Eminem AI voice at a live show. And so I don't want Eminem coming for the Vergecast, but here he is singing Laser Bong or rapping Laser Bong.
Those are my
It's a
lyrics.
laser ball, for laser to not be clear about what this is. Weed and lasers just seem to go together like weed and black like Bella paintings. Weed and peanut butter. Well, weed, my friends, and dynamic five gets in their midst of
Oh, then it just starts hallucinating.
It's just beautiful Eminem.
I think I understood 4 of those words.
And that was just like, you know, each one of these models is clearly being trained by a user. Clearly the company is not wanting to upload these data sets,
Yeah.
so they don't know how this information is getting in there. And
my
probably
God.
why they sound bad is that there's probably not enough training data for each of these artists, and if you want to separate the voice from the music to get the acapella, you have to do so with an AI separation tool.
Oh, wow.
Which are pretty good, but they still are going to have some digital artifacting, so that's going to get into the training data. So these things are not perfect yet, but they're pretty good. I mean, here's another version of Drake by Another Era. This is Eminem All Era. So people are doing different training sets.
Oh, interesting.
You can try different Eminems. Let's see
All
what
right.
this one sounds like.
It's a bomb that lasers. I not be clearer about what this is. Weed and lasers just seem to go together. Weed and black like Bella paintings. Weed and peanut butter.
We have to stop giving Eminem a seizure on the show.
I'm telling you, but doesn't it kind of feel like he's just with us over Zoom and there's a bad connection and you're like, wait, Eminem, what was that? Can you try that again?
Yeah, it just sounds he's just a little off there.
Yeah, all of that, and also he's having a stroke as we do this.
All right, Liam has requested Ice Spice. Can we make this say whatever we want?
We can make it say whatever we want, yes.
All right, so I have an email from a listener here.
Okay.
Beautiful.
For disclosure, I've already sent Charlie the text to this email so we can begin this process. I'm going to read you this email. It's from Joe Lamoth. I hope I'm pronouncing that, Joe. Okay, guys, I'm late to the party in the last 2 podcasts, but here goes. I can venture with you all on a lot of stuff, even some of the super weird crap Dieter used to come up with. That said, however, Nilay could not be more wrong on the CarPlay stuff. Perfect.
Let's go.
I drive a 2021 F-150. Wireless CarPlay works flawlessly for me. Also, look at these pics, 2 apps running, or at least kind of like the iPad's version of it. But look, CarPlay on the left and on the right, I have my podcasts running. In the second shot, I even went full, I'm Nilay, and I burn money on satellite radio elitist mode, and I'm listening to Sirius XM to show it. I do not need my phone screen. It sits down out of the way, and I forget it's there. This implementation of CarPlay is the best I've seen. Can we make Drake rap Joe's email?
You want Drake? You don't want Jay-Z?
I would like it to be Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, all right.
Jay-Z.
I just feel like I want to hear another one. Jay-Z, this model's different. With this one, I don't quite know how to do it, but you can like change its pitch and all kinds of things. But we'll do the basic Jay-Z, and it might take a second because this is a longer passage.
Charlie, I have a question for you while it goes.
Yeah.
Is there a reason this is something that would be easier with rap than with other genres of music? I feel like we've seen it more with hip hop than other genres. Is there a reason for that?
Well, certainly with rap, you don't have to. Pitch is not as big of a consideration, right? So you don't have to worry about getting pitch. Rhythm is challenging. In fact, the reason why I recorded myself saying the lines originally was because I wanted them to be decently in time. Again, not a rapper. But if you just do what we're doing here, it's going to put them in some kind of random order. It's not going to hit the beat where it needs to. But here's Jay-Z. Let's see how he does with CarPlay.
Oh, guys, I'm late to the party on the last 2 podcasts, but it goes. I can venture what you want on a lot of stuff. Getting some of the super weird crap data is to come up with. That said, however, Nilay could not be more wrong on the CarPlay stuff. I drive a 2021 for 150. Well, this CarPlay works flawlessly for me. Also, look at these pics. 2 ones running, or at least can like the best version of it. Look, CarPlay is there on the left and on the right. I have my podcast running. In the second shot, I went full. I'm Nilay, and I just burn money for satellite radio or latest mode and actually listen to service and the show it. I do not need my home screen. It sits down out of the way and I forget it is there. This implementation of CarPlay is the best I have seen as always. Let us show. Yelling my golden podcast, pulling it in every now and then. So let's do the intro, it takes. This is Nilay Patel, squirrel, killing up, hitting me and good killing it. I'm late to the party.
I think I started doing gibberish. There was some decent flow in there. There was moments like.
Really getting the flow towards the end, and then
if I chop that up and let me put auto-tune on that, you give me like there's a thing there too. Who knew Jay-Z was so into CarPlay?
Jay-Z saying I have my podcast running needs to go into the Vergecast theme song like immediately.
Well, one, Jay-Z's also wrong about CarPlay, as is Joe.
Nope.
That's the other hour of the show. So let's talk about, I mean, all this is incredible. Let's just feed more text into AI wrappers for the rest of the hour. It's incredible that it's easy. It's incredible the service is free. It's incredible that you were able to synthesize it against your own voice and make something that is quite honestly great, and I think will be our legacy. But it's also the layers of complication here are like out of control.
Yeah.
You will recall that I said Heart of My Sleeve, the fake Drake song, had the Metro Boomin tag in it. I don't know if that's AI or not.
I really doubt it.
Right, it doesn't make any sense.
Based off of your whole feeling that this is
What is Metro Boom?
Metro
Sorry.
This is
Metro
more
Boom is a
Charlie.
producer. So in the world of hip hop, it's very common that you put a audio tag at the beginning of your beat so that people can identify it as yours. That's a way of producers really building a name for themselves when historically producers, are not usually named artists. So it's a way to, all right, Metro Boom, I start recognizing that. So that tag, I think that someone just copied that tag.
Sure. I mean,
Right.
it makes it's easier.
Very easy to isolate it, take it apart. You can do that with existing AI tools that separate tracks. That's a whole other technology. So maybe some AI was used in the process of separating it from its underlying track, or maybe Metro Boomin has that tag somewhere on the internet that is isolated. Very easy to crop, boom, it's in your track.
Yeah.
Again, the song is good enough that it works as a song that could chart on the Hot 100. Largely, I think, mostly from interest of the sort of the excitement of it all, it being AI. But no, that does not sound like it's AI. I really think the main AI element here is likely to just be the voice transposition, voice synthesis model. Again, maybe the lyrics were somehow generated with AI. We don't know. I think we're going to find out. Like something
is going to Kanye West is going to reveal himself. Okay, but it's important that the Metro Boomin tag we think is a sample. It's like a real sample, a future actually saying that on a track, and Metro used that over and over again. Universal has this like strong statement, which is very long that I won't read here, but Universal Music comes out and says, we have to work with our streaming service providers. We think generative AI like this infringes our copyrights and other agreements. And that, honestly, if you were like Universal's marketing team or like legal team, you might release this track just to release that statement.
Right.
Again, the layers of potential stun here are very high.
I love that idea.
The statement notably didn't say we don't know anything about this or where it came from or anything like that. It just says AI is bad. We love our artists.
Yeah.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
So we're down in the weeds now of this thing. So they start issuing takedowns. We don't know if they're the ones who took it off of Apple Music and Spotify and Tidal and the rest. I've heard that wasn't them, that the streamers just did it.
Right.
Which, again,
because you
fishy.
did a little reporting on this.
Yeah. Every now and again, the old man puts on his old fedora and starts
With a little
reporting.
press.
A little notebook. I start calling around, seeing what's going on. So the streamers pull it down, and what's difficult is on YouTube and TikTok, you can't just call up and say, take it down, right? Because they're user-generated content platforms. So you have to file a DMCA takedown. This is all very complicated. Anybody who's ever watched any amount of YouTube has like run into a creator being like, I don't have the copyright. Like the YouTube takedown system is real. YouTube takes it down and they put up a copyright notice saying Universal has to take this down. So then I start digging around for real because that's really weird to me because the song is a new song. Universal doesn't own the song. And the law around do you own Drake's voice
Doesn't really exist.
Universal definitely doesn't own Drake's voice.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right? So it wouldn't be Universal. It would be Drake or The Weeknd. And then the law, as you're saying, the law doesn't exist. So they claimed, so I dug around, reported out. Google on the record said to us, we took it down because of a sample. And I have learned the sample is the Metro Boomin tag. So we escaped this like legal nightmare.
It's not even a story about AI. It's just this is a really old story about getting copyright clearances for samples.
Yep, and it's like the escape hatch, like saved by the bell of this tag. So now Universal can claim this song contains an unauthorized sample that we own, and if we hear this song and that sample's in it, take it down. That's copyright infringement. We own this sample. If that sample wasn't there, this is a nightmare.
I wish it wasn't there.
I'm like,
It's a good
I can't be. I put it in as like a giant pull quote in our story. It's like, if you upload this song without the Metro Boomin tag, because I desperately want this to happen.
Yeah.
So the thing that you're talking about, the training data,
Yeah.
someone's out there uploading a bunch of Jay-Z songs or a bunch of Eminem songs or whatever to uberduck.ai. They don't own the rights to train the AI on those songs.
Well,
Of course, neither does like OpenAI or any company which
Yeah.
is scraping the internet for everything and doing the
are
exact
those
same thing.
actual rights though? Like, is it because that's I think the big question right now, right? Is who owns the rights to train AI? Is that something that you have to own the rights to? Because everybody's kind of saying no, it isn't. If it's available, I can do whatever I want with
So
it.
this is the big debate,
Right.
right? So right now, if you write a song, let's call
I
it
did.
Laser Bong.
I did.
Part 2.
Part two.
Right, you as the owner of the copyright, you wrote the song, you recorded it, or in this case, you had Drake recorded for you.
Yes.
That's your song. You
Right.
have a bunch of exclusive rights that are like listed in the law. There's a bunch of stuff you're allowed to do. One of the things you're allowed to do is sell copies of the song, and that's most people will buy copies of the song for you. They get from you the right to like play the song. You don't get the right to play the song in public or perform it. That like there are organizations that run around suing bars and restaurants because they don't have the appropriate public performance licenses. And this is just like a big system that has existed for decades. One right you definitely don't have is the right to make, if you just buy a song. You go to the store and buy
Laser bong.
a Laser Bong
Beautiful.
on CD and you come back and play it. You don't have the right to remix it or make a sample of it because that's a derivative work. Right? That's you as the artist hold on to that right.
Right. I can't sell. I mean, I can make that. I just can't sell it.
No, you're really not even supposed to make it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm learning all sorts of new things today.
I mean, it's just copy. Like you're making copies. And so
you're like-
copyright law very narrowly regulates the act of making copies.
Okay. And it says you cannot remix this.
Is that in any meaningful way different from what's happening with like search engines right now? Like to Charlie's point, the OpenAI and everybody is just pulling everything it could find on the internet, making training data out of it, and now you're starting to see publishers and other companies
Yep.
start to get mad. Is this just exactly the same thing?
It's exactly the same thing. So Getty is suing Stability, and News Corp is making a lot of noise about suing Google. News Corp loves talking shit about Google. Stu, like every Hollywood studio is going to start doing this. The idea that there are things you are allowed to make copies for and things you are not allowed to make copies for is, there it is. That's copyright law. So here they're saying, hey, making copies of our work into your computer for the purpose of training an AI those are unauthorized copies.
Which
No one knows if that is a valid thing to say out loud. This has never happened before in the history of the world. And then they're saying, once you've trained your data, or once you've trained your AI on those unauthorized copies, the songs you are making are now unauthorized derivative works of our songs, or unauthorized derivative works of Getty photos, or whatever it is.
Yes, Charlie's going to jail.
I mean, probably because you all can sue me because I stole your copyright. I stole the text from The Verge.
I will be suing, yes.
I mean, there's nothing that could be better for this show than Universal suing us for
Laser bong.
Laser bong. I welcome the lawyers.
Parody really gets you out of anything. Parody
I'm just
is
saying,
a great excuse.
I welcome that lawyer. I welcome that letter from your lawyers, and we will post it so fast. So you just have this problem, right? Where, okay, this step of we're going to train the AI by copying all the data onto the computer, that might not be fair use. And fair use, Liam will kill me if I go into this. It's a 4-factor test, whatever. It's like as political as anything, right? It's like as random as any court decision in the country, case by case fair use determination. So that all the creative companies are like, wait, this is not fair use. This is unauthorized copying to make training data. And Microsoft and Google and Stability and whoever else are all saying, nope, this is fair use. Alex Heath was at a conference with the CEO of Stability AI where he said, I hired the lawyer who wrote the book on fair use.
Oh, okay.
And Sarah Chong and I are like, who? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Sundar Pichai, in search, there's a string of cases from the early 2000s about Google and search where they found fair use over and again. The most famous is called Perfect 10 versus Amazon and Google. Perfect 10 is a porn publisher, and their images were showing up in Google image search and Amazon image search, and the court had to be like, yeah, Google's going to win this one. Like, but you just got this like ancient body of law that allows these things to happen that doesn't apply one-to-one to this.
Right.
And now you're like, what are they going to do? What's Google going to do? Google has to run YouTube, where if you take that Metro Boomin tag out, the decision on whether or not this song is fair use or not is wide open. There's no thing like the DMCA for names and likenesses, right? You can't issue a "that's my likeness" takedown to Google. There's no mechanism. There's no law for it. It's all state law. It's not federal law. And then Google also is doing a bunch of AI stuff. So like, what do you've got YouTube, which, as David keeps writing about, turns more and more into the cable company every day.
Yep.
So it needs rights holders to be happy. It needs the NFL to be happy. It needs Drake to be happy. Whoever's going to play at the next halftime show should be happy with YouTube.
It's worth mentioning that the entire content ID system exists more or less because of multi-billion-dollar lawsuits that many of these content companies went after YouTube when they were a much smaller company.
Yep.
And so Google's highly aware of how vulnerable it could be to huge litigation.
And so all that stuff, that the content ID happened because of Viacom, and Google basically at that time and YouTube at that time were new. And they were like, this is the cost of doing business. There's a famous scene at the end of like The Social Network where Mark Zuckerberg's lawyers are like, this is the price of being a success. Pay the money, settle the lawsuit, and walk away. Like, that is very much how Google and YouTube thought about those cases. Now they're giants.
Yeah.
Like, they're the incumbents, they're the infrastructure, they're the cable company with the deal with the NFL, and OpenAI is not. Stability AI is not.
And it's worth noting that Content ID is not the law. It's just an agreement between some companies.
Yep.
The way that content is treated there is very different than it is on other platforms.
Yeah, your choices basically are like, you upload a song or a video and say, this is my video, and Google trusts you that you're not lying, and you're like, take them all down that match, take all the videos that match this video down, or monetize them and send the money to me. If you don't own the song, you can't say that. So like, Drake can't show up and say, all uses of my voice I own, even if they're made by a robot. Monetize them or take them down. That system doesn't exist, and is also just like,
I hope it does exist. I hope this is how it exists.
but only for Drake.
But only for Drake.
I find it really interesting that you're having to go at length to explain how unusual this is, but underneath all of it, it just doesn't pass the smell test. Like,
Yeah.
I think any human is gonna be like, that sounds like Drake. Can you do that with Drake? That doesn't seem right. Like initially, it's just like, oh yeah, you can't do that. Can you do that? Oh, maybe we can. Is where we're at, but.
The law is just not prepared for it, because the law is all based on making copies of existing things. And we just have never had a robot that can take your voice away from you and then talk about CarPlay.
Well, and that's the thing. And if you sort of take that out, like what Charlie is saying, and you say, okay, this doesn't pass the smell test, let's not allow it. You've just kneecapped all of the generative AI stuff that Google has basically poured its future into. And like, you either say this is allowed and piss off the music industry, or you say everything we think is the future of our company and the internet is illegal. And it's a total losing game. And it doesn't seem like there's a middle ground here either. It really doesn't.
No, I don't know what Google's going to do. There's one middle ground, and I got an email from a longtime Vergecast listener who said, I agree with you. I think Google's going to solve it with money.
I mean, fair.
Okay. Well, sure. And maybe that's what Universal is gesturing towards. But you're not going to stop UberDuck AI by demanding money, right? And the models are just going to run on people's computers, and the training data is going to get copied. And trying to regulate the copy of Drake's catalog onto your laptop to train a program on your laptop is a ridiculous exercise. But that is like what copyright law can do. It can be like, you made a copy here, and that one is illegal.
But I think we are going to see some precedent, because we have seen this in film and TV, where they go and they take somebody's likeness and they slap it onto a model. Like all the Star Wars movies are like, you know what? Princess Leia is alive again and young.
Yeah.
And so, and they signed contracts. Like there's a bunch of
Will Smith, I think, famously signed his whatever. What was that horrible movie they made?
I Am Legend. Was it I Am
No,
Legend?
no.
No. It was the one where he's like the
He
younger
fights
version
young
of-
Will Smith. Yeah.
It's real bad. But yeah, like a bunch of contracts have been written. A bunch of people have kind of agreed on this. So there's stuff there. Like people have figured this out, and there are those smell tests. And I think it's just going to be up to the courts.
1 decade. This is my prediction.
Yeah,
It'll be
we
one
got
decade.
a decade.
We got to wrap this up. Alex Heath is waiting to come talk to us about Snapchat and their chatbots. Charlie, I'm curious just on the broader picture. You know a lot of artists, you know a lot of songwriters, you know a lot of musicians. Switched on Pop is great. You should go listen to it.
Thank you.
Is there the flip side of excitement? Like, look at these tools, are so fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. I just made laser bong. It was the best. There's so many things that are happening in AI and music, from how to mix and master your music more quickly so you can get it up on Spotify faster, to make more interesting beats. There's endless, I think, creative tools that people are doing with this. And there's also people who are creating open source AIs that they are giving explicit permission that you can use their voice. And that's totally awesome. People are going to do some very creative stuff with it. I haven't seen a track break through like this sort of gag one yet, though. But you'll
It's fishy.
There's been
fishy because it's a crypto scam.
Totally. It's all a crypto.
It's a crypto scam.
Don't invest in
NFT.
anything.
The future of our nation's copyright law is going to happen because of a crypto scam.
No,
And that seems about right.
There's definitely excitement. People are already using AI tools in small and interesting ways. But in terms of like writing whole tracks for us, I have been saying since people have been asking me this question, is AI going to write whole songs for us? When it's happening, there's just way bigger issues to be worried about.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't mean to diminish the music industry. It's a big industry, but when we're writing really good songs and replacing excellently done composition and all the human creativity into tens of thousands of choices that go into writing a song, I mean, we have the AIs are doing much more important things. Power, military, when that happens, I'm paying attention to something else.
All right. Well, hit us with some laser bong and we'll let you get out of here. One more time. Ride again with laser bong. Run it back.
It's a laser bomb. It's a bomb. There are lasers. I could not be clearer about what this is. It's a laser bomb. Weed and lasers just seem to go together. Like weed and black, like they'll do paintings of weed and peanut butter.
That's very good. All right. Charlie Harding, thank you so much, man.
Thank you all.
We're back.
It's a laser bong.
It's a laser bong.
It's catchy.
I can't tell you how often we're going to play laser bong on this show.
I'm really excited
For the rest of eternity, we're going to play that song. Thank you to Charlie. Charlie's gone now. Mm-hmm. But Alex Heath is here. Hey, Alex.
Hey, guys. Good to be here.
Quite a lot going on in what I would call the Alex Heath world, the world of social platforms. Snapchat had an event. They talked about some AI stuff. Google is reorganizing a little bit. There's some Meta layoffs. There's some Reddit API access stuff happening around like training these models, which we were just talking about at length. Let's start with Snapchat. It seems like their event was pretty fun. Like, they're a weird company. They're always having a good time no matter how badly things are going.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to... The weird was the word I was going to use. Tech events are back, baby. Yeah, I was... Earlier this week, they had this pretty cool event at this airport in Santa Monica where Harrison Ford parks his plane. So there's, like, little planes flying above us as we're outside mingling. And Snap just is like, it's this weird creative company that continues to befuddle people, but manages to also do interesting creative things. And like, you get there and they give you like a 3D Bitmoji of yourself and like a little like award trophy case that you can just like set on your desk. And like, they just have all these creative, interesting, weird things that they do. But yeah, I mean, the big news at that event was this My AI thing that they're doing, this chatbot that I interviewed Evan Spiegel on the site for about. And they're really betting big on it. And they're I think the biggest social media company to fully embrace generative AI. And now they're opening up access to the chatbot to all of their users. And like, for everyone listening, every time I feel like I talk about Snap, I hear people still use Snap. And they gave a stat that they have 750 million monthly active users. So they continue to grow users despite people continuing not to understand them or what they do, and now they're betting big on AI.
New people turn 13 every day, man. And that's what happens when you turn 13 is like you just get Snap.
And like to just kind of like summarize how weird this company is, they spent 3 years developing this AI selfie mirror that I tried at the event that they're not even shipping. It's just R&D, and the camera is inside the mirror, and it's like lenses and AR shopping stuff when you walk up to it. And you could see its applications in stores. I have no idea if they're actually going to do that, but like they're a SaaS company now. They're selling AR shopping software to companies. They're going to have some of these mirrors as like tests in Men's Warehouse.
Oh my God.
They're doing tests with Nike where you can try on a Nike shoe on your foot with like a mirror that's looking up at you.
Wait, can we just back up to Men's Warehouse? I'm not, no shade on people. I've shopped at a Men's Warehouse in my life. I'm just saying men's clothing is the least AR necessary clothing.
Yeah.
You're like, you're going to wear a jacket.
Yeah.
What if the jacket was blue? It's like, you don't, I don't know. That it doesn't seem like the right.
You just precisely exactly described the promotional gift for the Men's Warehouse AR mirror. It's a guy trying on what looks to be like a prom tux, and the AR one he's wearing is blue, and then he like dramatically presses a button, and then it's black. that's the whole thing.
Fair enough. It's men's clothing. Like I'm wearing a new black jacket, you guys.
Looks great.
It just doesn't seem like that's what. Whatever. Good luck to everyone of your Men's Warehouse SaaS business. Are they doing all this stuff because Snap is a company, the adpocalypse because of Apple, just like everybody else, and they need to branch out?
Yeah, they want to diversify revenue. I would point people back to, I leaked this Evan Spiegel memo late last year, kind of outlining the plan for all this and all the metrics they want to hit. They're behind on some of it, but yeah, they want to diversify. So they've also got Snapchat Plus, which is their subscription product where you basically pay for early access features. So My AI initially was gated to Plus, and they've got 3 million paid subs for that, which is a little bit behind what Evan wanted to be the goal, but it's still growing. They want to try to get to 10 million this year. You know, Snap is an actual super app. You know, when we talk about Twitter and Elon's goals to build X and build a super app, it's already what Snap is, and it's kind of confusing to talk about and understand, and they're still trying to figure out how to make money out of it because the main reason that people come to Snap is to chat. And they don't make money off of chat. So that's been their inherent struggle as a company is they sell ads against stories, which are declining in usage, and Discover, which remains kind of like a tabloidy looking thing that hasn't really changed much over the years. And long term, they think AR advertising is going to be a thing, but I don't think that's going to be a meaningful thing on mobile. I think they're waiting for wearables. So they're in this really weird spot where they're not big enough to get the ad dollars that they think they deserve, even with that user base of 750 million monthly users, which is like a huge user base, right? And that was kind of the background of everything was like the stock is like below the IPO price. Revenue is not growing like they had hoped, but they keep shipping interesting stuff. And they're still kind of the product R&D factory for the rest of social media. Yeah. And, you know, when I've seen a lot of tech events over the years, I really would put them maybe second to Apple in terms of the kind of polish and creativity that they put into these moments where they announce all this stuff, and you could hear it and feel it in the audience there. People were genuinely energized by what they were doing. It's just everyone's also going like, when are they going to make money? And that's a problem when you're an independent, publicly traded company and you're not profitable yet, but you know you have all these employees. They have like over 5,000 employees, so the Twitter thing kind of hangs over them as an example of like what could go wrong. And I think that was also something that I was hearing throughout the day, talking to employees and all that.
Do you think there's a chance that Evan cuts half the company like Elon?
I think more layoffs could happen. Kara Swisher actually interviewed him on their stage at the end of the day and asked him about selling the company. And he's never budged on that question. He's always said, we'll never sell. And he did actually kind of hint to that. Basically, if we aren't able to get the company more efficient and profitable through this tough time, like, you know, it would make sense for us to entertain some kind of discussion. But he acted like they had already done that, even though the stock market does not think that they have. And so that, I thought that was interesting. It was the first time I've ever heard him not totally dismiss that idea. But, you know, he controls the company fully. I don't see that happening. I don't see who the acquirer would be even. But yeah, I could see more layoffs happening. I mean, they are a lot bigger than Twitter. And they have more users, but they're not profitable either, and that's a problem.
Yeah, Snap is trying to play this weird game, I feel like. And I was thinking about this watching the Partner Summit this week, where Snap's like big long-term bet is on AR, right? Like they've been saying this for years. That
Everyone's big long-term bet is on AR.
But hear me out. This thing that Snap is trying to do, I think, and is get so many people used to AR that it can then sell all of that AR to businesses, because all of those businesses will have to give people AR features because customers will demand them when they walk into a men's warehouse, so that they will buy them from Snapchat.
You're going to love the way these AR pants look. I guarantee it.
And that to me is just like some of I think they are genuinely ahead of everybody else in AR. Like from what we've seen in the world, like more people use Snap to do cooler stuff than any other AR platform that exists.
They showed the like crying lens in the audience during the keynote, where they just like pointed the camera at people in the audience and they were just like crying, or they look like Pixar characters. And it's hilarious.
It's great.
I mean, the face lenses still remain the best current mobile consumer application of AR that exists. The problem is like it's goofy and dumb, and it's funny, but it's not a business, right? And so they're starting to introduce like lenses you can transact with using like Snap tokens and like unlock things like games. But like it all comes back to these like tabletop demos that we've seen of like pointing your phone at a table or whatever, and there's like a game. Like no one does that in real life.
Yeah. It's like how every stylus demo is like circling things.
Yeah.
Like
For a while, iOS
I have to say, whatever you just said about AR lenses that you shop with Snap tokens, like I rarely feel old on this show, and that made me feel like an ancient wizard who had just stumbled out of a cave. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I felt old many times during the day. Like they were doing they're like, we're going to have a story where you can only post to it at night and then watch it the next day. It's like an after dark story.
We got to stop doing this. We're like this thing where we invent times of day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the chatbot itself, because that's actually the news.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they're the first social platform that's like, you can just talk to a bot in our app in this way.
Yeah.
What's the play there? What's the idea?
So Evan, I think, remains one of the most like thoughtful product thinkers in consumer internet, and he is really bullish on generative AI, which is interesting. He doesn't usually like quickly jump to these kind of trends. I haven't seen him do that over the years. I've interviewed him a lot, and he's really into this. Like this was his idea. Like I've heard he was like personally writing my AI prompts, like responses.
Oh
Like,
my
he's
God.
very into
Wow.
it. And you know, he told me that these LLMs are better suited for creativity than information retrieval and accuracy, which we see, right? When we, as you guys have talked about, and we'll talk about, like, we're constantly finding out that these chatbots they suck at search. They suck at recalling specific information. And so that's accurate, that you can count on. And so he's treating it and wanting people to think of it more as like a person, like a persona. So they're anthropomorphizing it and letting you make a Bitmoji and all of it, and then change the name and introduce it into group chats, like mention the AI.
Your chaotic liar friend.
What?
Yes.
Isn't that just the worst?
Well, he told me, I was like, how do you use it? And he was like, well, I used it to help plan my wife Miranda Kerr's like birthday weekend in LA. And he was also like, I use it to tell my kids a bedtime story every time when I get home from work.
Wait.
So
Wait.
generative AI bedtime stories. I don't know.
That's
That's
bleak, man.
terrible.
That is
That's
bleak.
horrible.
That's not horrible.
I mean,
I'm not saying that I've done it or that I would do it. I'm just saying, abstractly, you often read your child's stories written by something else.
You often read.
I don't know if Dr. Seuss is a robot.
No, he was a dude. He's a real man.
Who knows?
History.
Sure.
Nilay, this is the hill you want to die on, is who knows who people are? Is that what we're doing here?
I'm sorry. I just had Drake rapping laser bong on this show.
Nothing is
the
real.
future is wide open.
That's very fair.
But this turn, right? Okay, you introduce this new chaotic, it's Snapchat, so it must be said, occasionally horny element into your chat service.
This is just Clippy. This is the most Clippy thing anyone has done yet, including Microsoft, which is running away from doing Clippy.
Well, yeah, it is clippy because they're also so my AI will start recommending lenses like if you ask it. And where this gets really wild is
I hear you want to do crying face.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing generative photo snaps back. So they showed on stage, this is just going to be for Plus subscribers to start. Eventually it'll be video too, but like you'll literally have visual like snaps being sent back to you generated based on what you send it, which is wild.
But yeah, the example was like you send it a picture of a bunch of tomatoes and say
Yeah.
like, what should I make for dinner? And it sends back like a beautiful picture of tomato soup.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, with a recipe or whatever. So there's a couple things here. Snap is, they can't really like lose more business. I mean, I guess they can, but like they're kind of at the bottom in terms of like where they can go from a revenue profit perspective. So they don't have a ton to lose. When you look at what Meta has all this tech in-house, they could do something like this. They could have done it 18 months ago, and they wouldn't even needed OpenAI. We should also say Snap is using OpenAI for all this. Google, same thing. We've been talking about how Google's been just like slowly forced to ship stuff because of OpenAI. These big companies, they have, everything is a reputational disaster for them, potentially. So that's like lawyers just saying, you can't ship this, right? Snap is in this spot where they're huge, and they have a very young audience, which also is a even potentially bigger reputational issue for them, but they can ship faster. And so Evan was very clear that like they don't know exactly how my AI is going to be either misused or what's going to happen with it. But they're thinking like the benefits outweigh the risks for a company at our state. This is a company that right before Evan did the interview with Kara, they had Matt Friend, who's this hilarious creator who does this Trump impersonation. He's like this TikToker, Snapchat star, do like a stand-up thing, right? But I've never seen something like this at a big tech conference where he like impersonated Trump, made jokes about like China and TikTok, and impersonated Evan, impersonated Tim Cook, like at a Snap event, like sanctioned, like right outside of the main stage. I'm like, they are just in a different mode where they can like just YOLO it a little bit. And so I think that's why they're doing this. And it may, I think it has the risk of being the biggest like potential, you know, reputational disaster for them from a new product they've shipped though.
You just said they had the youngest audience, right?
Yeah.
So they have all the people who are young and cannot tell, probably have the most difficulty telling reality from fiction. And now you're giving them a fiction bot that you want them to personify that has already, I think, told a 13-year-old how to seduce a 31-year-old.
Right.
And they're saying, we just want to move fast and break things. That all seems like a recipe for horrible things to happen.
Which gets to a bigger thing about Snap right now, which is I feel like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. A lot of the presentation was also about creators and how they're trying to pay creators more and give them more visibility in Spotlight, which is their TikTok competitor that is growing, has 350 million MAUs. Hasn't managed to break out into pop culture, right? You don't see like spotlights on late night or anything like that. But they have this public thing that they're trying to do because they need to have that consumption and inventory and time spent to make money from ads because ads are not in chat. And then they also have the chat experience, and the same thing goes with AI. They're trying to say this is a creative thing, like don't rely on it, but also like we're going to pin it to the top of your friend list, we're going to let you name it, and it's based on OpenAI's models, which we continue to see how people are jailbreaking them. We don't fully understand what they can do, how they can interact with us. And so I've never seen Snap kind of just rush into something like this. I mean, this literally was like from January to now, they're releasing this thing to everyone.
Yeah, this just seems like it has the potential for like catastrophic backlash. Like you've already had it do it once where it had, again, teach a 13-year-old how to seduce a 31-year-old.
Is it a real 13-year-old? Is like a
yeah, that
fake
was something
prompt?
that was in your piece.
Yeah, it was somebody from the Center for Humane Technology, Tristan Harris's thing, trying to get it to say bad
Yeah.
things.
But they still like
The
that was
safeguards aren't
capable.
there,
Yeah,
is
the
your point,
safeguards aren't there, and now you're going to unleash it on 750 million people, many of whom are children. And like, I don't want to be one of those people that says, think of the children, because that's usually like the worst thing in the world. Think of all of the video game censorship in the 90s. But also at the same time, that seems just really dangerous. If you've got this untested thing that you don't know what it's going to do, and now you're going to say, okay, 13-year-olds, have fun. And also you're personifying it, which means like it'll kill us all one day.
I don't know. I kind of feel like the reputational damage gets lower with every one of these that comes out. And it's now like like Bing is just right there, right? Like you can go make Bing be real horny if you're 13. Like it's not that hard. And I don't know that Snap is
all-time Vergecast quote. I think we might that might be the end of the show. I think the police are coming to our houses right now.
But what is interesting about it to me is this is so completely unlike the way Snap has ever done anything. Like the company has been like thoughtful to a fault over the years. It has been really slow and really deliberate. It's like you think about like the speed it has gone with spectacles. Like Jesus Christ, release something. But they've been very careful to say like we want to get this stuff right. We want to do it well. We want to be thoughtful. We want to make sure the technology is good. And then with this, kind of like the whole tech industry's brain broke when ChatGPT launched. It really did, including Evan Spiegel.
Okay, I want to use that to change the subject ever so slightly, right? Yes, Snap is like, here's a thing, you can chat with it. We can sign up for the OpenAI API, and you can chat with it in our app too. Great, and they're the first big consumer platform to just like out and do it, which is interesting. But it's still just like you can chat with it, and you should be able to talk to it, and the thing is everywhere. I just want to flip this to Google for 1 second, which has released approximately nothing. There was a report this week that Google's own employees said don't release Bard. It's horrible. It's a pathological liar. I would not say Bard has inspired the level of fervor that ChatGPT has inspired. Not even Bing. Like when you're getting outdone by horny Bing, like something really weird has happened to your company. And just today, Google announced Sundar Pichai had a memo out. Their two rival AI development centers, Google Brain and DeepMind, are now being merged. Alex, do you know what's going on there? Because it seems like Google, for all of its previous perceived leadership, is now just way behind.
Well, yeah, this is like the opposite side of the coin from Snap, where Google has like probably 15 different teams building a version of my AI in parallel, and they don't even know it, right?
Yeah.
And the DeepMind Google separation is the ultimate example, where they bought DeepMind many years ago, which is this cutting edge AI research lab in London. And it's been largely separate from Google, doing a lot of parallel work in terms of AI development. Google has Google Brain, led by Jeff Dean, who's doing a lot of like the stuff that you see in Google products. What this signals to me is that Google realizes it needs to ship more. And so it's combining all of these, researchers and scientists that it has together so that they're not doing. There's also like the power grab here of like, DeepMind is its own company. It's like when Kevin Systrom was still at Instagram, and Instagram was like, we're still a separate company within Meta, right? And Zuckerberg's like, no, you're not. And it's a similar thing that Sundar's doing this week, which is like, no, we need to actually be shipping collectively and putting our minds together and not have these fiefdoms, right? And that's the big tech side of it, where like they're still doing like org chart changes to try to just like catch up to where the industry is moving. And Snap is like, we're just gonna like use OpenAI and put a bot out and figure it out later, because we can. And so that's the problem you have when you're that big and you have all this scrutiny as Google, is that first we see all these huge org changes before there's even a product.
Yeah.
But the funny part of this is like, I would not say DeepMind is like famously a great shipper of products. Like it's been a really impressive research arm for more than a decade. But basically the only thing people would know DeepMind for is that it built like AlphaGo and is like incredible at games, right? And it's like, I think to me what this says is the work that DeepMind is doing is better and more advanced and more likely to help Google products than what's happening in Google Brain.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to have them running separately. I mean, it's like Meta went through this with Instagram. I mean, it's a similar thing. So yeah, that is the other side of the coin, right? And it's, I think when we see I/O here in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of all this kind of come to a head.
I/O is going to be fascinating this year.
And before we move off Snap quickly, there's a business thing I wanted to touch on that I think, and I wrote about this in Command Line, the newsletter this week, is that I think the reason Snap is moving so quickly here is that My AI to them is the first time they're getting, and why these interfaces in general are taking over the industry. It's this really high intent interface where you can know exactly what someone's trying to get out of your product. And for Snap, they need that desperately, right? Because they're not monetizing chat with friends. They're not monitoring those messages
Oh, interesting.
for ad targeting.
So you chat with a robot, and then you can target the ads based on that.
Yeah, I mean, the people at Snap are frothing at the mouth about like advertised responses in this thing, like tying the data from my AI into ad targeting throughout the app.
Now I don't feel old anymore. Now I feel appropriately aged.
So like this all comes around to like ad targeting and business
Yeah.
models at the end of the
They're
day.
going to make you a robot friend and then heavily surveil your interactions with the robot friend. And then the robot friend is going to be like, have you thought about the Men's Warehouse?
That's
Right.
creepy.
I mean, I don't know. Like, if I'm asking my AI to help me plan a vacation to Japan, and it like then shows me an ad for like a cool hotel in Japan when I'm like in Spotlight, I don't mind. You know, it just depends on how they do it. No one's tried this yet. No one.
Yeah.
I mean, Bing is trying it, but they haven't really scaled it yet. The thing is, like, how people interact with these large language models may just be terrible for ads. It may not be at all what you want, and we don't know. But Snap's
Just gonna be
try.
like, do you love me?
Yeah.
Do you love me? Over and over and over.
This person
again.
is desperate for affection. Let's show them dating app ads.
I would say that is more likely the outcome than not. Last little pieces I want to end on here.
Yeah.
In the previous segment with Charlie, we were talking about training data and the copyright disasters that are associated with it. Reddit started charging for API access because people are training on Reddit, which is fascinating. Elon threatened to sue Microsoft for something, which we can talk about in a minute. I'm not quite sure how that would work. In general, the training data problem is real. We're seeing the tech industry react to it from the other side of the coin. What are you hearing? Are people worried about this at all?
I think the companies that have these valuable data sets of user-generated, interesting, relevant content that also applies to a search type context, which Reddit is probably at the top of that stack, are going to find that they have an incredibly lucrative business of just licensing that data in this new world we're headed in, where these models need to train on something. And so the companies that are going to succeed are either the ones who have all the data in-house, which is actually, by the way, a long-term bullish thing for Snap on the visual side. They probably have more visual data to train on than just about any company their size. But for Reddit, it makes total sense that they would start charging. I'm surprised they haven't already been doing this because you know that OpenAI has used Reddit data to train its models.
Yeah.
And if you're Reddit, it's like it's the same thing with copyright. It's like you got to pay me for this. You can't just like take this. And Reddit wants to go public, maybe potentially at the back half of this year. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a huge part of their going public narrative, is that we're this valuable data source for this new wave of AI companies. I could see also a similar thing for Quora. We don't talk about Quora a lot on this show, but Adam D'Angelo, who's also on the board of OpenAI, their CEO, is very smart about this stuff, and they've kept their data off of the internet. It's not easily scraped by Google. That kind of a data set, is valuable as well. Medium's another interesting example. There are some Medium, right? We can talk about Medium later. But like, I'm just listing these examples of these companies that have all this UGC content that's not easily scraped. It's incredibly valuable.
Yeah. The Twitter one is interesting because Microsoft turned off compatibility with Twitter ads, and someone just like posted the headline, and Elon replied to it and was like, they trained using Twitter data, lawsuit incoming. And it's like, whoa, hold on. Like, first of all, Microsoft's not OpenAI.
So
right, but they are and they aren't.
We got to parse the Elon speak here, right?
Yeah.
Like he said, Substack was downloading part of the Twitter database or whatever, which is like not even possible. I don't know what that even means. But yeah, so like the Twitter thing is interesting because Twitter was very, I wouldn't say lazy, but they let people scrape the data, and they had to deal with Google where tweets were indexed in search. I don't think they were getting paid much for that. Elon is realizing this is whether it's increasingly becoming less valuable, but throughout history it has been a valuable data source. And now with these models, and he wants to build his own large language model and woke whatever counteract to open it.
Woke GPT.
Yeah.
No, not woke. Sleepy GPT.
Yeah. So Sleepy GPT. So he's that's the opposite of woke, right? Yeah. So he's wielding Twitter's data as a weapon and something to hoard instead of how it was kind of viewed before.
But so what's fascinating about this is he doesn't own the data. Like, you just go look at Twitter's terms of service or X.com's terms of service, whatever the company's called now. Like, the line is like, you own your data and we take a license to it. And so there's just this like more copyright law stuff Sorry, Liam.
Boo.
But it's just weird. Like, there's a whole thing that's going to happen here where these platforms realize, like, oh, we have a thing that is, we take a license from all of our users, but then if someone goes and does something bad, we actually have very little recourse.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't own the data. The users could retain, like, when you tweet, that is yours. You just give Twitter a license to use it.
Well, except when Twitter goes offline suddenly, like when Elon pulls the plug and then it's not yours, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not trying to do an activity pub segue, by the way, with that. But
I'm ready at any moment. Laser Bong Activity Pub, the new Vergecast hit single.
But yeah, that's. I mean, you're right. There is that interesting copyright question, but Elon. I remember him tweeting several months ago that OpenAI was crawling Twitter for their model, and he blocked that. So, yeah, I think these sources of data, Twitter, Reddit, Medium, Quora, will just become closed off unless you pay, and that's their long-term strategic value for all these models to train on.
Yeah, I think the one I would add to that is Wikipedia, which I think is the other one, along with Reddit and Wikipedia, to me are like by far the two most interesting, because I think, like, I've been talking to search engines for years who like are trying to figure out what to do with the fact that smart people just put Reddit at the end of their search query, because like Reddit is literally like structured data that answers every question anyone has ever had on the internet, right? Like, it knows which ones are most liked. It has comments. It's like, it is, if you can mine Reddit successfully, which is why it's so insane that Reddit is not a better product, you can learn anything about anything. And in the search engine days, you would do all of that and get a bunch of data from Reddit, but you would end up back on Reddit. And the theory was like, we can figure out how to make money. As long as we can get you to Reddit, we'll give this data to other people because it eventually accretes back to us because you come to Reddit. And with all of these models, that's no longer the case, right? Like, my interaction with Reddit ends in my chatbot now. It's data from Reddit, it's information from Reddit, from people on Reddit, that I am never once touching Reddit or even knowing that it's Reddit. So like, I kind of agree, Alex, that like they should have woken up to this a while ago, and like that paywall should be big and it should be expensive. Yeah,
there's just it's like hard to wake up to a thing that doesn't exist. It's like, until ChatGPT hit, what are you doing with all this data was not making consumer products. It was doing demos to collect venture capital, which I think is like Google's problem. Like, fundamentally, Google's problem was like, we don't have to make products. We're just going to baby step our way to AGI.
No, I think it's the opposite. Google said we have to make good products or nobody will use them. And OpenAI came out and said, we made a crappy product. Do you want it? And everybody said, yes.
People love crap.
This is the reputational thing we were talking about earlier with Snap versus big companies. Like Google, Meta, they have had all this tech. Like, based on my understanding, like, yes, OpenAI has done some innovative stuff on like the foundational research, but really their innovation was productizing this stuff and not caring if it got stuff wrong. And just putting it out in the world. And that shocked everyone in big tech that, oh, wow, like, it doesn't matter if this thing is like not perfect. Like, people just want to play with this. But if you're Google and your mission is to index the world's information and make it easily accessible, it's a huge problem if you put a model out that just spits out bad information and you're Google. And
yet they did it anyway.
It's Bard, Nilay. It's not Google. But yeah, I know what you mean.
It's garbage.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. We're going to run over. I'm just letting you know this is going to happen. Alex, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
We're back.
It's a laser bomb. It's a bomb. Now lasers. I could not be clearer about what this is. It's a laser bomb.
It's true.
It's very good.
It's very good.
It's very good. We're going to run that for the last 10 minutes of the show, and that'll be the Vergecast, everybody.
That's it.
Drake, if you want to come on the show and try to do better at rapping laser bong, we'd love to have you anytime.
I'll bring the laser bong in.
The thing is, Charlie's like actually a very good musician, so he's like, I did a bad job with this. It's like, no.
You did a very good job.
You made a banger.
Yeah, like, this is a banger. Listening to this all the way home.
We got to do a quick lightning round. David, you are very taken with the fact that Netflix is shutting down its DVD business.
Yeah, well, this is a very fun story to me because... it's going to be the 25th anniversary. This year is the 25th anniversary of Netflix shipping DVDs. And on this, the 25th anniversary, Netflix is going to stop selling DVDs, which is the obviously correct thing to do. It's been a bad business for a really long time. It was so bad that they tried to spin it off and name it Quickster, which was a super bad idea. And then they made it DVD.com, which is fine, and it has existed forever, and now it's gone. And I just like, I go back to, I had this nostalgia fest with a bunch of people on the internet over the last few days of like, do you remember how awesome it was when you first got Netflix, the DVD thing, and you could just say, I want a DVD, and it just appeared at your house, and then when you're done, you put it in the mailbox, and it's gone, and then the next one arrives. Like, that was so much better than anything that had ever existed beforehand. I feel like it sounds ridiculous now, like 2 decades after streaming is a thing, but it was magical. And I just want people to remember, like, that was the best Netflix ever was. Like, screw House of Cards, forget all this other stuff. That was the best thing Netflix ever did.
It was when your queue mattered. And so, like, sometimes you would maybe have a really fun time in college, and then you'd wake up the next day and you'd get some stuff from Netflix, and you'd be like,
I feel like I understand now why you said sometimes you'd have a really fun time in college with a slight amount of hesitation.
yeah. And then you'd be like, I don't remember this.
You
Where
definitely
did
hit the laser bong and mess with your Netflix queue.
And then, like, you just be like, oh no, the Netflix queue chaos after, like, Saturday nights. You do, like, your Sunday morning double check. It's a good time.
That's good.
That.
I never sent anything back. Let's be honest.
You still have all of them.
I have I've got the first 3 in the mail, and I was like, well, I guess these are the only 3 movies I'll ever own. So goes. Here's an interesting stat that came out of the same earnings call that I just want to point at. Netflix now makes more money from its ad customers than its premium customers. So here's a quote. Our ads plan already has a total annual revenue per member greater than our standard plan. So they're adding features to the ads plan.
Right.
So if you are a Netflix with ads person, you make Netflix more money than if you're a premium customer. This makes me real twitchy about the ads coming to every other part of Netflix.
Oh, it's coming. This is the last phase of Netflix killing television. They're coming for everybody. They ate Blockbuster, and now they're eating basic cable. Like, this is what Netflix has always wanted, is to be the size of the entertainment business. And this is like the only way you get there is with a really, 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 really big ads business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I have written here, it's a laser bong.
It's true.
Today is 4/20.
It's true. A national holiday.
National
The
holiday.
most important holiday.
The most important day on Elon Musk's calendar.
And mine.
Here are the 3 Elon headlines. The Starship launched after a multi-year delay. You should actually go watch the documentary Lauren Grush made with our video team while she was still here before she went to Bloomberg about the people who've just been living at Starbase for years, waiting
really,
for this
really
launch.
good.
It's just really good. It's like just, it's good. It's like one of the best things we've ever made. Our video team did an incredible job with it. Go watch that on YouTube. But it launched today. Those people are all very happy. And then it promptly exploded.
And they were still happy, apparently.
They were still happy. And I if you watch the live stream, they were all cheering when it exploded. And I couldn't for a minute figure out if they were just instinctively cheering at an explosion the way that I would instinctively cheer at an explosion. Because like I
they knew something. They're like, yes.
Like you're just waiting for that turn where they realize like, oh, no, they SpaceX defined anything as clearing the tower as a success.
So they did it.
So they did it. The thing went in the air. All the Raptor engines fired.
Are they going to pick
and
up
then it didn't.
the mess?
They're going to pick up that.
Did it like vaporize?
It's unclear what happened to cause it explode. There was a phrase they used. David, what was the phrase they used?
Rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah. It's very good. It's a very good phrase.
So good.
So that happened. Congratulations to the SpaceX team. Hopefully we'll launch it again soon. But then today is also the day that Elon began removing the blue checks from Twitter.
Do you still have yours?
Mine's gone.
I think mine's gone now. There was a period there where they were flickering.
Yes.
Which is very good. I've never felt less. I just have no feelings.
I was like,
You want to talk about copyright again? I get ramped up.
yeah. It was one of those things where it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's over. And not to make this about Activity Pub, this is also the day that BuzzFeed News shut down. Earlier this week, we ran a post from Ellis Hamburger about the sort of inevitable life cycle of every social media platform, and while they're all kind of doomed to repeat all the same mistakes, I would say that the Twitter blue check day, BuzzFeed News shutting down, that piece, David's, it's all kind of the same story for me, which is this era of the internet has come to a close.
Yeah.
How would you name that era? I've been trying to figure this out.
The social era.
That's good. Or the social media era.
The era of the social web has come to a close.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
No.
No, I think if anything, the internet keeps getting more and more social. I think it's like this is like the era of big social.
The platform era.
Yeah,
How's that?
it's
Sure,
decentralized.
I'll give you the platform era. That I'm good with.
Okay, so there's something along that the social platform era, the platform era, this thing that we all talked about where it was all settled for a minute,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Is like it's come to a close. I'll just read you this line from Ben Smith, who now runs Semaphore. He was a former editor of BuzzFeed News. He's got a new book out called Traffic. It's very good, whatever. Here's his line he wrote about BuzzFeed News. BuzzFeed never found a new path when the trend turned against us, when consumers found their Facebook feeds toxic, not delightful, when platforms decided news was poison, and when Facebook, Twitter, and the rest simply stopped distributing links to websites.
You could replace BuzzFeed with a lot of things in that.
There's a lot of
sentence.
wreckage in that ravine.
Yeah.
And I think the next one to turn is Google and all of the SEO farms that exist in this world. It's just a weird moment. And it's like the blue checks thing is whatever, but you combine that with the BuzzFeed News thing and just sort of this recognition, this sort of like dull recognition that the platform era has like wound itself to whatever this end is.
Yeah.
If you run a tech website like we do, you're like, oh, there's a bunch of cool new stuff to write about. But it's worth taking a beat to be like, oh, okay, like this thing is over.
Yep.
And I think there's just going to be a lot more fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this next period, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be really messy because there are a lot of people looking for where to go. You also forgot about like the impending possibility of a TikTok ban, which is like an existential crisis to a huge number of creators. And so we're now in this place where, like, where do you go? Where do you spend your time on the internet? Is
Verge.com.
Open question. Yeah, theverge.com is the best possible answer. Nilay will be in the comments yelling about CarPlay. I can absolutely guarantee
Being
that.
very wrong.
Yeah. Hey.
But it feels unsettled for the first time in, like, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, maybe, that it was like ever since Facebook became sort of the place that everybody was, the common denominators have been there, and now they're gone. And the threat of the rest of them being gone looms just as large as the ones that are going away. And it's weird. This next phase is going to be really, really weird.
Yeah.
I'm honestly excited. As somebody who grew up in that phase, that first like wild web phase, I'm like, yeah, let's get back to some of that.
Yeah.
But with less of the porn. Remember when anytime you would, let me elaborate. Anytime you would go on like a search engine and you type anything in, the first result was always just like XXX. Do you remember that?
Again, I feel like you and I had very different collegiate experiences.
So this was like
Alex is like, here's what I did. I ripped the laser bong. I fucked with my Netflix queue, and then I did some porn searches.
you'd be like game cheats, and it'd be like, I'll show you some game cheats. And you're like, sir, no. I wanted to know about video games. I think I was the only one. All right, nobody else used search engines.
Can we feed Alex saying, I'll show you some game cheats into the Drake generator, please?
We'll hit up Charlie after
That feels very important to me.
I don't know how to respond to this without triggering some sort of HR seminar. So we're just going to move on.
They just actually appeared in the window.
Last few lightning round items. It seems like the pre-Google I/O run-up has begun.
Yeah.
So the Pixel Fold is leaking all over the place. It looks nice. A weird camera bump, but it looks nice.
Huge camera bump.
Yeah, I don't.
They're like, what if the camera bump was also a kickstand?
Do you know how
Useful.
there's the argument that like Apple makes the phones, and they know people will do cases, so they make the cases, but they design the phones to not have a case. And Apple fans argue about this all the time. Google is absolutely designing these phones to be put in cases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They anytime they don't have it in the case, they're like, oh, something's wrong with this.
Yeah, you're like, what if it was as ugly as possible? Don't worry about it. We're going to stick it in a case. But actually, the Fold has a way about it, at least in these photos, in the way that the Pixel 7 does not. We'll see. It's supposed to have a great battery life. We'll see how it goes. And then there's this other rumor that we're hearing along the same, I don't know if it's pre-I/O run-up, but it's just in the mix, is that Samsung's deal to use Google Search as default on its phones is up, and Google's in a panic because Samsung might go with Bing, which is... When I say we're like back to the future, I could have read that headline to you in 2008.
Incredible.
You know what I'm saying?
Where's Bixby and all
Bing
this?
will be the default on Samsung phones. That is some 2008 information.
I take it back. I don't welcome this new era.
Do you welcome it?
Abort.
Bing,
Never mind.
Hey, you're worried about horny search engines. Have you met Bing, my friend?
Bing's gonna show things.
We'll see. But IO's coming. The leaks are out. We've got a story stream with all the leaks. It'll be neat. We got another story stream about Apple headset rumors. Check that out. And then the last one. This is just my favorite one of the entire week. This story got an unexpectedly huge amount of traffic. Google Fi has been renamed.
Yeah.
To Google Fi Wireless. And I just want to point out that is Google Fi. Why? What are we doing over there?
It's the new era, man. It's the new era. Anything goes.
I'm one of the last Google Fi subscribers. Although I will say, again, this story got a wild amount of traffic.
Yeah.
So they're out there and they read the Verge.com.
People did read it.
I have it because you can just turn it off for 90 days at a time.
You have it as like an eSIM?
Yeah, I have an eSIM, and like whenever I'm doing the two-phone thing, I like light it up and put that one. It's T-Mobile 5G. It's all fine. And then I turn it off. It's great.
Love that.
Just the other thing. But it's like Google Fi. Why?
Which is good because they were clearly trying to change it so it didn't sound so much like Google Fiber, but instead they made it sound like Google Wi-Fi, so they solved nothing.
But backwards.
They didn't make it better.
But also a question? Google Fi, why?
Yeah. It's all very good.
The thing about Google Fi that I think is exciting, this is just the official name now. We're just calling it Google Fi. I will hear no other names. Is that you can now put your smartwatch or some smartwatches on your Google Fi plan for free, which I think is a good and excellent thing that everyone should do.
Yeah.
This
That's
thing where
perfect.
it's like $10 a month to add all your ancillary devices to your plan is nonsense, and it should go away. And like Amazon Sidewalk is sort of undoing that a little bit. Google Fi is sort of undoing that a little bit. Like we're just gonna crack this thing open, and I'm very excited about it.
And Verizon will be furious.
We got an email this week from someone who basically accused us of tricking them into believing that Bixby was actually a dog with shoes. And I truly hope we can do that for Google Fi as well.
I really,
can.
really hope that.
Yeah.
I think we can.
It's good. And look, I appreciate that you believe that it was a dog with shoes, and I don't apologize because that was my goal all along.
And also,
So.
it was one. Bing is horny, Bixby's a dog with shoes, and it's Google Fi.
What
We
more do
don't
you
stand
want?
for much on this show, but there it is.
Those things.
Those are our tenets.
All right, Alex, finally, we've talked about the laser bong quite a bit and have actually explained zero what is going on.
I think the song really covers it. What more is there to say? It's
Alex reviewed a laser bong.
I reviewed a laser bong because I got like the request. They're like, "Do you want to check out our laser bong?" And I was like, "Yes." Every time, yes. It is a very, very expensive bong. 99.9% of people don't need it, but that 0.1% is like, it's a laser bong, of course.
That 0.1% is in this podcast studio right now.
And if you've ever been like, I want to see weed get heated with a laser, that's what it does. That's it.
It's a laser bomb. It's a bomb. There are lasers. I could not be clearer about what this is. It's a laser bomb. Weed and lasers just seem to go together.
This is why you're not allowed to have a soundboard, just so you know.
Liam is so mad at me. This episode has gone so fully off the rails. That's it. We are way over. We're way over. Whatever you thought it was going to be, we're over that.
Yeah.
That's the Vergecast. The site was incredible this week. It was just a very fun week to work here. We're back to basics. We're just blogging again. Never went away. Never went out of style. One thing I do want to call out, Justine Kalma, our intrepid climate reporter, has a new show with Audible called Hell or High Water. It's all about the impacts of climate change. It's very good. Has a great name. She's been promoting that on the site. You can go find it on Audible. It's a partnership with the Vox Media Podcasts Network, of which we are the flagship podcast. Go listen to it. It's amazing. Hell or High Water with Justine. It's all here. You know, it's at theverge.com. Real people talking about their feelings and laser bongs.
Yes.
That's what we sell here every day. That's it. That's a Vergecast. Rock and roll.